going to see how he does in the round of 8 here at the NASL Season 4 qualifiers.
Yes, guys, this is the quarterfinals. Winner moves on to tomorrow. Now, tomorrow we play the semis and the finals. If you were tuning in for the first time this off-season, only first place gets a spot. Second place gets $250. But that's it. You know, and you kind of have to try again next time. And a lot of players have signed out. I think we had 180 signups for this qualifier. And now we're down to just potentially the last 4 for today. Let's go ahead and introduce our players. Starting in the bottom right, we have a man of many names. Ro8 Juanito, the red Terran in the bottom corner.
Ro8 Juanito, definitely one of the best Terrans in the North American scene. As I was saying before, won WCS Mexico, which is definitely something to be said. I mean, yes, a lot of Mexican players don't get a lot of recognition, but there are a ton of really fantastic players. A lot of them are cheesy, too. In the top left-hand corner, we have Everize coming from Chicago, Illinois.
Really?
Yes.
Everize from Illinois?
Yes.
He's from Chicago?
Pretty sure it's Chicago, Illinois.
Really? Okay, well, I have this weird thing, Andre, where I can't say Chicago. I always say CH. Like Chicago.
Chicago?
Everyone says you say it like you're from Hispanic descent. I'm like, no, man.
Oh, Chicago.
Yeah, I keep saying Chicago, so don't ever try to correct
me. It's okay.
Me.
My relatives say tree instead of 3, so.
Oh. And one of our co-casters says third instead of third. But we have, oh, come on. He's the one who kind of makes fun of himself for it. We see that Major's going to scout first a little bit earlier just to check if there's any proxies. I don't think people really proxy Marauder anymore, though, do they? Really in TV?
They do.
Do they? That often? I don't see it. I don't see it that often, though. That's the thing.
Unfortunately, they do.
Well, it seems that people are going for more of that macro-based play anyways, at least in this scenario. We see Command Center first from Everize. Now, actually, I've been playing a lot of Command Center first with some of my friends, back with some of my old clanmates, and they said they don't like Command Center first because you just have to pressure. It's kind of like if you see CC first as a Protoss, you send a couple extra probes with your Stalker and you pressure, and all of a sudden you can really deal with the early Marine count and the SUVs and actually take out way more, get like a 5-worker advantage.
I would love to play any of your friends that think that, because I think Command Center first is the best possible opening economically.
In TVT?
TVT. You cannot get hurt at all.
Well, it just okay. Well, first of all, Andre, I'm terrible with my, you know.
I will teach you the build.
Okay, well,
I'll teach you the build.
They say when he just pressures a little bit and able to stop it, but I guess why is it safe though? Can you explain on your head?
You can just the fact that you have defensive positioning in SEVs are a lot more changeable. Like, you can change out SCVs really easily to all of a sudden mine, and then you have a new fresh one that has a lot of HP. So just that fact, and the fact that they're faster than Marines, they can actually take them out pretty efficiently. If you have good micro, you don't even need to get a bunker if they go something like 1-Rack's Command Center, just because of how fast you get your Marines out and the power of SCVs in the early game stage. It really is a situation where I think Command Center first, if you do go it and they go something like gaseous fast expansion, you just have to take the loss. There's nothing else to it.
All right, well, with that in mind,
I'll show you, man.
I'm actually really interested to see, because I remember because I tried doing it 3 times in a row, and he kept sending like the 2 Marines with 3 SCVs, and I only had 1 Marine at that time, and it was like I wouldn't die. I get far behind because of its kind of scenario.
You know, I actually had a ton of practice with this. I probably played 8 games with Beastie Cutie, and it didn't matter which build he did. I did Command Center first every single game, and he couldn't do anything about it. The first 2 games he tried to do something and got behind, and I just lost after that. All 8 times.
I got ahead and transitioned into losing.
Yep.
Oh, Andre. It's actually really funny because that's exactly what happened with the live, too. It's like you have a really good early mid-game start and then transition to just barely losing it.
Hey, man, I know my builds really, really well. I know what counters what and how to actually allocate my gas. I'm so good with that, Rotterdam. But, you know, keeping up with pro gamers at that end game stage is significantly harder than choosing a build.
Yeah, because then eventually, and this will come into play in TVT as well, decision making will come so key in TVT, especially as we see more development into different aspects of TVT builds. A lot of players are really favoring mech. I remember I was actually watching, I think it was the EPS quarters, and I watched the series between Cloud and Goody, and both players were always going mech in this scenario. And one player tried going bio, but then just got completely crushed. And it's one of those situations where, yes, a lot of people do end up sticking to their old build and stuff, and yes, there's still like those things where like, yeah, you know, mech's really good if you confront everything, but in the end, decision making, people are starting to realize is what really dictates mid to late game victories, and not just TVT, but TV anything. So I just want to say, Andre, that I think you're really good.
Thanks, bro.
And I think as long as you just improve some decisions, you'll be tip-top shape.
That's what's up.
That's what's up.
One of these days, man.
That's
One of these days. I'm going to come out.
I'll be the first to post it on Reddit. Gretorp just beat someone. I'll add a spoiler tag as well, because it makes it seem like a really important game. Yeah. Whenever you had a spoiler tag, I'm like, man. Like when someone did that to your Reddit, I was like, man, it makes it seem like a really legit game or something. Like it was for a qualifier
How
spot.
cool would that be? It's like, Gretorp beats Vampire 4478, and they're like, whoa, Gretorp's so good. You don't add the spoiler, and it's like, Gretorp beats I am MVP. It's
Yeah.
like, who cares about that, man? That's probably some illegitimate game.
That's right. But we see that Major's going to pop in with a Banshee. Major, of course, loves his Banshees. He's following up with a Raven, though. And early Ravens are actually finding a really strong place in TVT as well. What do you think about this choice of a second unit of the starport on?
I love it against Bio. It's actually theoretically terrible against any sort of mech. But he's established that, yes, he is in fact against Bio, so it's fine. The reason why it's bad against mech is that it is at the opportunity cost of some siege tanks and some critical upgrades. There's a potential timing where you can hit, which BC actually taught me after a couple of games of this, where if you go mech and you do opt to get that Raven, you can actually be so far behind, and you can't let that Raven actually build up enough energy for it to be of any use. Like,
yeah, no, I see what you mean.
Basically what it is. Like the auto turrets will always be defensive, which stinks.
Yeah, I can definitely see where it's going. This also stinks. Major picks off 2 supply depots for free because Everize was being too comprehensive in his vision. And as a result, has all of his supply depots really on the outskirts of his base. That's just going to be a little bit of a thorn in the side. I love this one as well from Major. He's keeping supply depots to kind of keep track of his opponent's army movements.
Oh, big stim wasted right there. I love this composition. It might seem really, really silly to have only Hellions, but what this is actually meant to do is you drop down the PDD, you kill all the Marines, and then what you end up doing is killing any potential medevacs. If there's no medevacs, look at how efficient it is. It's absolutely insane.
Oh,
and this is the power of, honestly, of mech.
Yeah.
Just this so much synergy to defeat everything in the early game stages.
To defeat everything.
Yeah.
Always.
Everything.
Mech is just you can't confront mech with anything until you get like late game battle cruisers, Ravens, Vikings, those kind of things. It's just so hard to really match up against it.
Exactly right.
And what's so cool is that Major is doing all this, but he's also expanding facet of his opponent. We often see people go mech, kind of go slower, you know, kind of say like Bio's one taking tempo, trades, expands faster, takes more position, gets map control, repeat, right? But the one thing that Major's doing is he's the one controlling the map. He's the one expanding faster. And as a result, because, you know, what's the biggest drawback to mech early game, Andre? It's gas, right? You always tell me that. Gas is your biggest limitation by far. And when you get 6 gas this quickly, or the availability of it, it's just going to be a beautiful thing for Major in the upcoming minutes.
You are so right. I mean,
yes.
And how Terrans have been able to actually, or excuse me, meching Terrans have been able to actually really buy themselves time is this huge emphasis on getting those Blue Flame Hellions to be very aggressive. And you're going to see these Hellions, they might not actually move in all the way unless they see timings like this where they can actually push in and kill a ton of SEVs.
He's just going to go ahead. And there's no wall off on the main.
No,
so all the mules are
so
just freshly dropped onto the natural, Andre. Major's going to run by. The Marauders do deal with them, but enough have run by to really start picking off the worker count. And, oh man, even if he's only killed 9 workers, he's killed mules, man. 4 mules. Yikes.
4 meals is a lot in 90 seconds. You accrue a total of, what, 1,080. 1,080. Wow, wow, woo, wow.
Just in one, yeah, it's in 1 minute. So
in 90 seconds, 90 seconds.
Oh, 90 seconds, you're right. In one Frodan minute, 90 seconds. But you can see that Major, I mean, he's got everything, and he's, oh my goodness, the fact that he's got this many tanks already. Everize is supposed to be the one that has, you know, an incredible amount of barracks, at least needs to be on like 10 barracks by now. And you just need to have an overproduction. You need to constantly be pumping units. And Everize is the one that's kind of struggling for it. And Major's the one trading efficiently. He's been trading Hellions for his armies, or minerals for basically his minerals. And Major has an advantage in the economy.
Oh, he's so far ahead.
So far
he's
ahead.
Maxed. 191 supplied. 15 minutes into the game of TVT.
Didn't even have to siege,
yeah,
really.
he's going to 1A into it, put down 2 PDDs, and be like, LOL.
Yeah, the Marauder's not going to do anything against these tanks. Way too much. Look, I mean, Major just pretty much just has to A-move, go get a glass of water. And again, this is not because Everize is bad. It's because Major's just been able to get so much advantage that is almost nothing. The PDD is still working wonders. The tank's doing so much. SCV is being pulled, but it doesn't even really matter. Everize is losing so much. And even if he does deal with these tanks, he can't even deal with the Banshees, per se. The Banshees can clean everything up as well. Major did lose a lot of workers in his huge push, but regardless, Everize is in very, very poor shape, as he has no anti-air, and even if he did, the Vikings are there to deal with it.
Yep. And that's why I say Hydra's really good against Banshees, guys.
How in the world is Everize supposed to get a Hydra at this point? Oh, and you can see that Major just pushing into this third. I mean, Everize is kind of forced to play defensive. Both players have lost an incredible amount of SUVs, but as long as he can get out of there, he'll be okay.
Needless to say, Everize is so far behind. Yes! Don't get me wrong. Look at how many SUVs he traded out from that. That's a lot. 39 to 21, though. He's still just about double his opponent's economy. And, you know, that's actually something really cool that we just saw, because, as you can see, the production of Everize, yes, there's a ton of barracks, but he can't actually support all of this. Whereas Kitty has been staying at a pretty low count. Only 4 for 3 bases. That's really, really tiny. Yeah. So Kitty was actually preparing for something like this. That's a very big indicator. And that he was planning on staying on low economy for quite a long time, doing that trade. It's a really cool, efficient way in saying, I'm going to get an advantage.
Andre, he's trapped the remainder of Everize's bio. The tanks cleaning up every single thing. What is this? Marines are fighting the tanks, unsieged tanks, and the Hellions are fighting the Marauders. This is such a weird fight, but Major's got so much, it doesn't even matter. GG. Man, and yeah, you bring up a good point, because Major kind of prepped the idea that he's going to have better, stronger production off lower factory tanks. If you even have 10 more SUVs, if it's like 30 to 20 but triple orbital, still means a lot, especially if you can deny one of his orbitals. That's actually a really interesting point. I never thought of that.
And think of it this way, like, by you making those 2 or 3 extra barracks, that's all money that you've completely wasted. They don't do anything for you. Yes, you're able to get the maximum production for your particular economy, but you still have inefficiency, whereas Major has total efficiency. That's what's cool.
Major takes game number 1 with a clean mech play from start to finish. We'll find out what happens in game number 2. And let's see. We'll take a bet on what map is chosen in game number 2, but we'll be back and we'll let you know what happens in just a minute.